Good morning, everyone. Welcome to episode 111 of the 476ers podcast. In today's episode, we're going to talk about some of the free agency news, so stay tuned.
Yo. Yo. Justice for the blind, just something that'll find in the rhyme that are coming from my mind.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to episode 111. I was beatboxing a little bit. You know how that goes. Sometimes you just got to get it out. You know, shout out to Biz Marquee, rest in peace. We're going to talk about, this is episode 111. Did I say that? I said that at the top. Doesn't matter. I've said it now at the bottom. That's what she said. I don't know why she said that, but we're going to talk about some of the free agency stuff and how the Sixers are now probably the fourth or fifth best team in the East. And maybe I'm overreacting about it. That's fine. I'm hyperbolic all the time. So it's nothing really new, but you know, it's in my nature. It's what you guys paid me to do, except no one really pays me to do anything. I'm just here for free, but it's still fun to do. So we're going to talk about some of the movement. I'm just going to literally react to the headlines that are sitting on here, what I think about them. And go from there. I mean, obviously, you know, the big deal here. Should we start there? Let's actually wait there. Let's not just go off the. We're gonna just jump from here, and then we'll save the Lonzo Ball thing for a little bit later. So, you know, Chris Paul agrees to a 4-year deal with the Suns. Good for him. I mean, my man he's almost made, but by the end of this contract, he will have almost made $500 million in his career. Which is incredible. You know what I mean? The best players of all time were not always the highest paid players, but I think that amount is probably commensurate for who Chris Paul is. I mean, he is one of the greatest players of all time, regardless of him losing the finals. The only thing is that the Suns may suffer next year from a little bit of a Miami Heatitis from the year before, and I wouldn't be surprised if they took a step back. I mean, they benefited from, obviously, the Lakers getting injured, arguably the Clippers getting injured. You could even argue the Jazz having injuries generally, with Mike Conley being out for most of the series. Donovan Mitchell wasn't healthy. So you could make that argument. I don't know, whatever you want to say. But either way, I mean, no matter what, as long as he's on your team, you're going to be one of the best teams in the league. You're going to be in the playoffs. You're going to have one of the best winning percentages. It is what it is. That is the Chris Paul effect. You wonder, you know, every time someone goes to the Olympics, usually a couple guys come back better. So, you know, you look at some of the younger guys, maybe have never been there. You wonder how good Jason Tatum will be next year. You wonder how much better Devin Booker will be next year, how much better Chris Middleton might be next year. So, but really, Devin Booker was the point I was making, really, is you wonder how much he's going to, you know, be upgraded for the Suns. And Mikal Bridges has gotten better every year. So, you know, is it a good signing? We'll kind of see in the next couple years if Chris Paul can give them for the next 2 years, if Chris Paul can give them what he gave them this year, then even if it's 4 years, it's worth it. The fourth year isn't guaranteed. But, you know, Chris Paul's game is not super reliant on speed, quickness, and athleticism. It's a ton reliant on just being smart as shit, being the smartest person in the room. So, so we'll see. Obviously, Kyle Lowry went to the Heat. It's a great signing for the Heat. I thought it was going to be hilarious if they would have managed to get DeMar DeRozan. I mean, DeRozan is still on the market, so who knows? They could still end up getting him, but it would be funny. I'm gonna be honest with you. If you won, I mean, much like the Lakers, I don't really know where the NBA is going right now. It seems like teams have decided that the NBA isn't about three-point shooting. Just out of nowhere, a couple of teams have said, fuck it, we don't need three-point shooting. So if they ended up signing DeMar DeRozan and it's just DeMar, Jimmy, and Bam looking at each other confused because all of them only operate in the mid-range or at the rim, it's going to be a shout-out. It's going to be like pre-three-point line NBA for the Heat, which is not going to work. I mean, it's just not going to take them anywhere. Kyle is a very good three-point shooter. He's become, every year it seems like he's gotten better as a spot-up three-point shooter. I don't know that that's a fact or anything, but it just seems that way when I watch the Raptors. It seems like every catch and shoot opportunity he gets he drills them. But I don't know who, Duncan Robinson is going to be the other starter. So, you have one elite three-point shooter, a very good three-point shooter, and then you would have three 2-point guys. Just that's it. That's too much. That's three guys too much. You know what I mean? Now, granted, all of them will shoot threes. They're not great at shooting threes, so it's not quite Ben. Nothing is Ben. Ben is nothing. I'm sorry. He's not nothing. He's a human being, and that means he has love. and he brings energy into the earth, into the world, and sure, he makes people's lives better in some way that maybe I can't understand because he doesn't make my life better in some way. I once told my therapist, I wondered, sometimes you meet people, right, and you piss them off. And that's the only experience they've ever had with you, is that you've pissed them off. And then you have other people who the only experience they've had with you is you made them laugh. And then you have the people who know you best. But in some way, a version of you, there is a version of you that exists. Every single version of you exists at the same time on this planet. So while Ben may bring love to people, what I know, the version of Ben that I know, the version of Ben that exists in my mind is a son of a bitch who doesn't make free throws and does not work with the team to make free throws. So that's the version of Ben I know. I'm sure there are versions of Ben where he's made people laugh and, whatever, the versions of Ben that plays Call of Duty or whatever. I just wish he felt the same call of duty to the team, because right now, every time he gets to the free throw line is just a call of duty of shit. That was childish. I'm sorry. Okay, fuck it. I guess we'll jump into it. Lonzo Ball headed to the Bulls. This is a great signing. The Bulls, they kind of had to. It's not going all in per se, right? Going all in would be trying to sign Chris Paul. That would be going all in, or trying to get Kyle Lowry would be kind of going all in. But they're definitely moving chips into the table aggressively, and they had to, because once you traded for Vooch and you traded a bunch of draft picks for him, now Vooch is a good player. He's going to give you numbers, but he's never there isn't a ton of winning in Vooch's life. You know what I mean? It just isn't a lot of winning. They get to the Bulls, it was probably a tick too late, and they down the stretch are kind of just up and down. You can't say for sure they were better or worse down the stretch. They're planning to start Lowry marketing at the 4 doesn't make sense. I've been saying that forever. I'll never ever accept Lowry marketing as a power forward, as much as you try to force it down my throat. That's what she said. I guess, I don't know. I'm never going to accept him as a power forward. That's what she said, is just the white dude alternative to pause. Pretty much. Right? If you think about it, it's just pause, or to the Dipset canceled now, the no homo, which has been canceled rightfully. That phrase has been canceled. That and pause, and that's what she said, are all the same thing. If you really think about it, it's all the same thing, because that's what she said is saying that's what this woman would say. This phrase could be misconstrued as something a woman would say, and then pause is something that sounds gay because it came out of a man's voice. Conversely, if it came out of a woman's voice, would be fine. Out of a woman's mouth would be fine. So pause. That's what she said. That's my new hot take. It's not really even a hot take. It's just true. Pause, and that's what she said. We can come together as a people, put that together. We can end racism that way. I'm sorry. So Lonzo Ball, Bulls, great signing. So with that said, it's a great signing for them. I like Lonzo a lot on the Bulls. I don't know what their starting 5 is going to shake out to be. I'm guessing Thad maybe is the starting small forward. I don't love Thad as the starting small forward. He doesn't really spread the floor. But Laurie spreads the floor. Vooch spreads the floor. Obviously, Lonzo has now become a floor spacer, is definitely one of the better three-point shooters now in the league. Good for him. If he can do it, anyone can. If I can't do it, homie, it can't be. Well, that doesn't really fit here. That's what she said. Pause. And obviously, Zach LaVine is a three-point shooter. So Thad doesn't necessarily have to be an elite three-point shooter, but Thad is a smart player, plays defense, helps facilitate. He's kind of like a poor man's Draymond Green. He's still growing. If you were a Sixers fan, when we had him every year, he was growing. So he's still growing, I'm sure. So it's an interesting 5. You know what I mean? It's an interesting 5. We'll see. Again, Laurie is a little bit too slow. The good thing is, if they play the Sixers, he has to guard Toby. He don't got nothing to worry about. No, nothing to worry about. Toby, you can lock him up. Don't worry about it, Laurie. You got nothing to worry about with us. You really only have anything to worry about when you play teams like the Nets, teams like the Bucks, the good teams in the NBA. So, good signing. A lot of offense on that 5. Obviously, Lonzo is a very good defender. Thad is a good defender. Nobody else on that starting 5 is a good defender. Zach wants to be a good defender. He said that going into Team USA. Now, luckily, because Team USA hasn't been on TV much, and also luckily because it's in Tokyo and it's you know, whatever. I haven't watched literally any of the games, so I have no clue if he's playing good defense or not. But, you know, maybe at some point I'll get a chance to watch one of those games. Who knows if Peacock can suck a dick. So, yeah, you know, we'll see what happens. Outside of that, though, I love this trade for the Bulls. I mean, you know, it's a sign and trade, so it's not really a trade, but I love the signing for the Bulls, I should say. The Pelicans did not get nothing back. They ended up getting Devontae Graham, which people are saying is a sharpshooter. I guess he is. He's kind of a streaky shooter at best. He finished 37.5%, which is technically, you can't have a decimal in a percentage, but, oh, no, that's not true. I guess you can. Anyway. 37.5. I'm not here doing math theory. 37.5% from the three-point line, which is good. But I mean, I've seen enough Hornets games for fun. So I've watched enough Hornets games to know that that man will go from 5 for 8 from the three-point line, 12 for 8 from the three-point line in the next game. I mean, it just up and down. Also is a minus defender. So if they're bringing him there to be a starting point guard, I mean, the Pelicans have gotten worse defensively. They were bad defensively already last year. And now they've gotten worse defensively because they got Devontae Graham, not a good defender. Brandon Ingram has been up and down. Sometimes he looks committed to defense. Sometimes he doesn't. Zion has not been a very good defender. Valanciunas has never been a good defender. So, yeah, you know, I don't know. If they retain Josh Hart, who's a restricted free agent for them right now, Josh Hart would be their best defender. And I like Josh Hart a lot. You know what I mean? So he really could help them. But Devontae is just going to be hard to hide him. No matter what, it's going to be hard to hide him. But it's a lot of offense. You know, their starting five is Devontae, Josh, Ingram, Zion, and Valanciunas. Essentially what you have is wide open lanes for Zion to initiate the offense and to get things going. You know what I mean? And get to the rim at will because they're not going to be able to afford to build a wall, kind of. You know, so we'll see. I don't know what the best fit for Zion is, especially as long as he's not a shooter and as long as he's not a defender. You know, every team could use a type of Kristaps, and I had said that last year. I had made a fake trade that would have sent Kristaps to the Pelicans and Steven Adams to the Mavericks to help Luka. You know, kind of as enforcer / defender. You know, who doesn't need whatever KP needs. You know, KP wants looks, but you know, KP would be really good for the Pelicans, but you know, whatever. What do I know? I just be out here talking shit sometimes. That's kind of pretty much just my thing. Is I just be out here saying words. No one's listening. That's nothing new. You know, and when you become a father, you reserve yourself to the point that no one will listen to you anyway. So yeah, and then the Hornets got nothing out of that deal. Pretty much, they got a lottery protected first round pick. That's pretty much what they got for losing. Devontae. I'm sure they get a trade exception as well because he was restricted. So I think they'll get a trade exception. It's kind of an addition by subtraction, honestly, because they drafted Bouknight, who is another guard. Obviously, you have Terry Rozier. Obviously, you have LaMelo Ball. So they have – oh, no, and actually they got – no, I'm sorry. The Pelicans also got Satoransky, right? The Pelicans, I think, got Satoransky too. Right? Yeah, I think the Pelicans got Satoransky too, which is Satoransky. I don't know. Which yeah, I like Satoransky, but you know, whatever. He's whatever. Doesn't really move the needle for anybody. He's like a 10th guy on the championship team. So it's kind of an addition by subtraction situation for the Hornets. You know what I mean? Really, the Hornets also signed. They traded for Cody Zeller. No, lying. They traded for what's his face from the Pistons, whose name escaping me, who came from the Nuggets, was the backup center for the Nuggets 2 years ago or 3 years ago, ended up on the Pistons. Oh my God, Mason Plumlee. They traded for Plumlee. I like Plumlee. He actually is kind of an underrated initiator, like an underrated passer as a big man. He does a little bit of stuff. You know, he's better than Cody Zeller. They signed somebody else too. I can't remember who right now. I'm sure I'll come across it here maybe. The Jazz. So that's a win for the Bulls. Good job, Bulls. Good job. They'll be a fun team. They're definitely going to be a fun team. Lonzo just needs the team that makes sense for him. I think he can be a successful player. I'm not saying he's going to be a Hall of Famer or an All-Star. I think he could be like a borderline All-Star player. is definitely a good defender, and all he needs is the right team where he's not asked to do so much, but he's also not asked to just be a spot-up shooter. Now he can come into a bull situation where he can initiate the offense, he can keep the ball moving, he can spot-up shoot at sometimes, he can get out in the open court, he can get the ball to Vooch in the post where he needs it. They don't have guards like that. That's like the underrated part. That's always the thing that I always said about Ben when I would defend him was, it's kind of an underrated thing to have a guy who can get you into your offense. It's like an underrated thing. So stuff like that the Bulls are missing, they now have. So that's good for them. Jazz ended up re-signing Mike Conley. Good for Mike Conley. Good for Mike Conley. I'm not really a ton to say. I like Mike Conley a lot. Good player. He kind of suffered from the fact that he was in a West stacked with some of the best point guards ever, with Russ, with Steph, with Chris Paul. I mean, what are you going to do, Mike? It's not your fault. Jimmy Butler got a massive extension for the Heat. Good for him. He can now take his coffee business to the next level or whatever the fuck before he ruins the Heat, I'm sure. He'll ruin him at some point. We'll see. Even though, Kyle Lowry's there, he could be the whisperer, and Kyle Lowry's a great leader. So it's probably actually going to work out well in that way. Lowry has become a great leader over time, and he'll be able maybe to offset Jimmy Butler, maybe. Now, the thing is on the Raptors, Kyle Lowry had rehabbed his image, and people may have forgotten that. He was kind of a difficult player, too, for a couple years, which is kind of why people would quit on him because he was good, but, wouldn't necessarily work out and would kind of be a dick to people. Now, you rehab that image when he got to the Raptors. So we'll see. Maybe it fits right into the Eric Spoelstra, Heat culture bullshit. We'll see how that goes. It's a win. The Heat are going to be better. They're going to be better. No question about it. They've kind of cut the dead weight of Iggy. I said they would probably do that if Iggy they haven't. Well, the Iggy and Ariza, I think, are free agents, right? I don't know. Ariza signed with the Lakers, and Iggy might end up rejoining the Warriors. I'm sorry. So they really do kind of need to replace those minutes, but we'll see. They re-signed Duncan Robinson too. Good for them. Dwight Howard, the flagrant foul. Fuck out of here. You and your big ass shoulders can go back to the Lakers. I really don't give a shit. It was kind of a little overrated. He would bring in a lot of energy, no question about it. I'll give him credit for that. He would definitely bring in a lot of energy, and there were games where he played really, really well. But again, as long as we have Ben here, you can't have Dwight and Ben ever on the same court together. I mean, to think that they spend any time working out together is one of the saddest days in America. I mean, there have been some sad, tragic days in America, but I just want you to know, right under those sad, tragic days that led to lost lives, really low on that list. There's a long list in America, trust me. And then at the bottom of that list is Ben and Dwight were working out together sometime. So, they also signed Wayne Ellington, who I'm going to be honest with you, I forgot he was in the NBA. Whatever, they need shooting, so they're that's what they're getting. Ariza comes back home to the Lakers. Maybe he can write his own Players Tribune place about how he's coming home. Whatever. The Heat signed Duncan Robinson. Good for them. Duncan can't play a lick of defense, but he is one of the best shooters in the NBA. He's a little bit more consistent than a streaky shooter. But he be streaking a little bit, He's like Cascade, This is, man, I'm sorry. This is like really old head shit. Like this is an adult joke. He's like Cascade because he be streaking. I really got to refresh my library of jokes because that's rough. Norman Powell gets a 5-year deal with the Blazers. Good for him. I can't remember what that number was. I saw some of the numbers on it, but I don't really remember what it was. Norman gets paid. The Blazers are not going to get better. You know what I mean? They're not going to get better. What's going on with the Blazers? There's some advanced stats metrics going on around that say essentially the lineup of Dame, CJ, Norman Powell, I want to say Covington and Nurkic is one of the best offensive lineups in the NBA, and that's great, except that you're always going to be giving up points. That lineup can't defend for its life. It just can't. It can't defend for its life, so they are just not going to be that good, and eventually, hopefully, we can get Ben over there. Maybe Dame says, I've had enough of Portland. comes over. Maybe, probably not. Spencer Dinwiddie might be joining with the Wizards. This rumor keeps going up and down. I keep seeing, oh, he's going to join with the Wizards. I keep seeing some other thing. It's a whole weird thing, but it seems like overnight it hit a fever pitch. It seems like he's going to get a deal done with the Wizards, and it's a far cry from what he wanted, because my man was talking about, I'll stay with the Nets if they give me 5 years, 125, and my man's going to the Wizards for 3 years, 60. Which is a great deal for the Wizards. Honestly, that's a great signing for the Wizards at that price. 3 years gives you flexibility. If it's not working, you can trade Bradley if need be. Let's say you trade Bradley next year. You have Dinwiddie for 2 more years after that. The following year, he's an expiring, and then you can move off that deal for some assets and keep it moving. You know what I mean? So, it's actually a rare good sign. Now, I'm sure there are other people who understand the salary cap better than I do and are good about, this is a terrible signing for the Wizards. But in my mind, you have Bradley. You're kind of treading water. What else are you going to do here? You know what I mean? You got Kuzma now. You got KCP. You got a couple guys. You know what I mean? You got Bradley, obviously. You have all these guys, some shooting, some guys who've seen what it's like to win. So maybe this is good for the Wizards. I'm not saying they're going to be better than they were last year. I can't tell you. I think they, actually, I do think they are. If you're talking about they replaced Russ with Spencer Dinwiddie, as long as he's healthy, mind you, if they replaced Russ with Dinwiddie, with Kuzma, with KCP, I would say they got better. For sure. I would say that you would have to say they got better. So we'll see. Fournier went to the Knicks. The Frenchman, this is a real Knicks signing, because the Knicks for many years have been kind of settling for the second tier of free agency guys, because they can't get, obviously, the Kevin Durant's, haven't been able to get any of the big names to come there. So they're kind of settling for guys. They retained Derrick Rose. They signed signed Evan Fournier, which is a nice signing. He's definitely an upgrade over, whoever was there. Now and to put it nicely too, let's give RJ Barrett some credit. RJ came in better this year than he was last year. He looked like, I'm not going to say he was a bust, but he looked like a bust in comparison to Zion, right? Where Zion was like obviously going to be this thing. And then you look at the second pick, you have RJ, and you're like, what in the bumbleclot is this? Because it's the Knicks. So it's, what in the bumbleclot, Patty boy, whatever is this? And credit to RJ, came in this year, and everything I've ever read about him is that dude's a worker. He works his ass off. He's going to play. He's going to work out. He's going to do everything he needs to do, and good for him. So if he comes in next year improving more, then this deal makes a little bit more sense, because now it moves Evan where he belongs, which is, well, he probably belongs as the fourth best guy, but it moves him to the third best guy, you know what I mean, behind Julius Randle. Listen, Randle had a rough playoffs, no question about it. You can say he choked, you can say whatever you want, that's fine. That team had no spacing. That team doesn't have any other offensive options. So it's kind of a rough situation for Randle to get anything going when they don't have anyone else who can really initiate the offense, can facilitate, and that's what Evan Fournier will bring to them. So he'll help. He'll help for sure. They keep Derrick Rose. That's nice. They're good. They renounced Frankie Nicotine, Frankie Smoke. So we'll see where he ends up going. Bobby Portis went back to the Bucks. Good for him. He got offered more money from somebody else. I think he got offered more money from the Heat. But he chose to take a discount and stay with the Bucks on a 2-year deal. I'm surprised. I thought he could have made more money. He made a big name for himself a bit in the playoffs. Not to say that he was going to go make $15 million a year, but I think he gets like a 2-year, $15 million deal. I'm actually kind of surprised. I thought he could make more money, but I think he found a place where he felt comfortable, just won a championship. Why not? You know what I mean? So good for him. The Cavaliers, 5-year extension with Jared Allen. It's a good signing. It's tough. But one thing I will say about Jared Allen is every year he does show a tiny bit more things. Last year he showed a propensity to hit a little jump shot. He has a little hook shot that he can hit from 10 feet out. He can do a couple things. So I think it could be a good signing. Good rim protector. It's cheap. Put it this way. Would you rather have Jared Allen on this contract, which I think is, I can't remember what the price is. Let me see if the number is in here. I don't know why they wouldn't include it on the headline, but God forbid, there's no, 5-year, $100 million. Would you rather have Jared Allen for a 5-year, $100 million, or would you be in the Jazz situation where they're going to end up paying Rudy maybe, I forgot when they signed him last year, 2 years, whatever, because he's made all defensive teams, and you're going to end up, on his next deal, if you retain him, making $200,000 or something. I mean, $200 million or something like that. Well, I'd probably rather have Jared Allen, younger, does the same thing that Rudy does, and is more of an offensive threat. So, he's not as good as a defender as Rudy is, but Jared makes free throws. So I think he does at least. I'm pretty sure he does. Spurs signed Dougie McBuckets. Kind of confused. I'm not exactly sure what the Spurs are doing here. They're treading water. They want to bring back DeMar DeRozan. DeRozan wants to go play with a winner, which makes sense. You know what I mean? I don't see why the Spurs would want to retain him unless they're just retaining him because they're going to trade him. And poor DeMar doesn't deserve that because he still hasn't gotten over the Masai thing. And it's crazy because Masai has such a great, and this happens to people. You have such a great reputation, but there's always one person. As I said earlier, a version of you exists in everyone's mind. And in DeMar DeRozan's mind, a version of Masai Ujiri exists where he's a dick. So, yeah, not that he's just sitting there thinking a dick. So Spurs signed Doug McDermott again. Kind of confused. I'm not exactly sure. Their draft was confusing. They drafted Primo. I forgot what his first name is. Where they could have gotten him. I mean, they could have gotten him at the end of the draft. They could have traded that pick and had someone move up, unless they really think Primo was some guy. But their drafts haven't been the sexiest. Not that they picked in the top 5 or 10 picks in years, but this is like one of the higher picks you've gotten, and that's who you drafted. It's a little bit confusing. And I have guys I like. They have a lot of guys I like that can help a lot of teams, but they don't have the guys together to win a championship. They don't have a collective group that could win a championship. So I don't know why you would re-sign DeRozan. I don't know why DeRozan would re-sign there unless it's just because he can't get paid on the open market now. A lot of this money's gotten used up. A lot of money's getting used up. So I don't know. The Knicks have a ton of salary, so they can sign him. But I don't know if I like that much. I don't know if I like that much. So we'll see. You know what I mean? Rashawn Holmes got paid. Good for him. He got paid with the Kings. He's been the best center there for like 3 years. Honestly, it kind of makes sense. A lot of teams wanted to sign Holmes. I think the Hornets were interested in him. He's a good guy. He's a good player. You know what I mean? I mean, honestly, the Suns probably would have wished that they could have retained him because he could have been their backup 5. Would have helped them, but whatever. He's good. He's good for the Kings. I'm assuming they're going to quit on the Marvin Bagley thing. They still might. There's still rumors that the Lakers want to trade for Buddy. And this Westbrook deal isn't done yet. It's not finalized. And there's a chance that they could rope in a third team somehow. I don't know how the fuck that's going to work. But there's a chance they could rope into the third team, and Buddy would help them. You know what I mean? That it would change the prospect of what the Lakers are. So we'll see. The Raptors signed Gary Trent Jr. That's nothing new. Good for them. Graham going to the Pelicans. I talked about that. Oh, Suns agreed to a deal with Cameron Payne. That's good. The Suns just saved the Knicks because the Knicks were about to throw a lot of money at Cameron Payne. And it's better that they did not do that. Oh, also, the Bulls ended up signing Alex Caruso, which the Lakers let go. Listen, it's not that Alex Caruso moves the needle for the Lakers that much, but, I mean, he's a really good defensive player. And there are some weird metrics that say, and I heard this on another podcast, I'm kind of regurgitating it, but some metrics that say that Alex Caruso's defense is like one of the best defensive players in the NBA. But as many people already know, defensive metrics are kind of bullshit. And for all the Sixers fans, because I've argued with Sixers fans about this, and, it's just laziness to say, oh, I mean, when Ben was covering Bradley Beal, he went for this. And it's like, yeah, but that doesn't actually account for the wide open jump shots. And guys were like, yeah, but those are the stats we have. I don't care that those are the stats you have. Watch the game. Tell me how many open shots Bradley Beal missed, and tell me that Ben was playing good defense at that time. You know what I mean? It's that simple. Anyway. Mavericks re-signed Tim Hardaway Jr. That's a great signing for them. They also signed. Oh man, who else did they sign? They signed somebody else that I liked. They signed this dude from the Knicks, Reggie Bullock. I like that signing too. The Mavericks have done a couple things. You know what I mean? They ended up trading Josh Richardson, which I haven't talked about, to the Celtics. It's a good trade. I mean, it's a good buy low for the Celtics. You know what I mean? No question about it. It's a good buy low for the Celtics. I don't know what their starting 5 is going to be, but if it's Marcus Smart, Josh Richardson, Jalen, Jason Tatum, and Al Horford, it's a nice starting lineup. They don't have a point guard, and that's a problem. Marcus Smart can be a point guard, but he also can be a guy who will take terrible jump shots. Josh Richardson can initiate the offense. Jalen can initiate the offense. Tatum can initiate the offense. Horford can help initiate the offense. So they have a lot of guys who can initiate an offense. They don't really have a point guard. You know what I mean? So we'll see how that's going to work. It's an interesting five, though. A lot of defense on that five, so we'll see. It's going to be a lot of defense, if they're playing aggressive defense, they can cause problems for a lot of teams. I'm sure they're going to cause problems for us. Very fucking easy to defend. The Spurs also signed Zach Collins from the Trailblazers, which that's another really good buy low move. I like Zach Collins a lot. The problem with Zach Collins is he hasn't been healthy in 15 years. That man was born with injured. He was born with an ACL tear. You know what I mean? And he just has been injured ever since. But if he can be healthy, that's a nice buy low for the Spurs. You know what I mean? And you could see a situation where maybe they could do something. I don't know what, but maybe something. Griffin, Blake is staying with the Nets. Championship chasing, good for him. He played great for the Nets. I'm not even going to say that's championship chasing because that implies that he didn't offer anything to the Nets while he was there. He actually was really, really good for the Nets. So good for him. He wants a championship, and it'll solidify his Hall of Fame candidacy. He's going to go into the Hall of Fame without it, but, it'll actually make the Hall of Fame candidacy look a little bit better because if he contributes like the way he did last year, it'll look good. Rockets signed David Nwaba, whatever. The Rockets are doing. They also got a sign and trade for Daniel Tice. I don't really know what the Rockets are doing. Are you tanking or do you just want to be a 30-win team? Why? You know what I mean? Obviously, they got Jalen Green. We'll see, what he is. I didn't realize he's the first Filipino player, I think, to be drafted. I don't know if he's the first in the NBA, but good for him. I think he's half Filipino, half black, I think. But whatever. Who gives a shit? I mean, I give a shit. It matters. It's good. Nuggets re-signed Austin Rivers. Pistons signed Kelly Olynyk. Whatever. Kelly Olynyk is a nice player, smart player, heady, can shoot. Is dirty as fuck. And yeah, can help be a little bit of a buffer for Cade Cunningham. Man, that team is just a lot of whatever. I mean, could they be an 8 seed? Yeah, if Cade is as good as advertised, they could definitely be an 8 seed for sure. They can be an 8 seed. TJ's going back to the Pacers. Good for him. JaVale McGee went to the Suns. That's a nice signing for them. They needed that backup center. They needed a backup center. I love Dario as a backup five, but once he got injured, they kind of needed size. So Corey Joseph went to the Pistons. Whatever. I think that's it, right? That's not ton. Mo Harkless to the Kings. Oh yeah, Ken Bazemore went to the Lakers. He could have gotten more money if he stayed with the Warriors, but decided to championship. It's kind of disrespectful because it's kind of like, I wanted to go to a team that's going to compete for a championship. It's like you don't think you don't believe in Steph and Clay to compete for a championship. Well, it's kind of disrespectful. You know what I mean? Whatever. PJ Tucker went to the Heat, which I guess he's been dying to go to the Heat culture. You know what I mean? To be a son of a bitch for them. The Heat, just great defenders. They're going to just annoy us. Oh, Cody Zeller went to the Trailblazers, backup five. Good for them. Batum stays with the Clippers. Anything here that I give a shit about? We re-signed the green light. I'm laughing like that on purpose with my mouth doing all those moves. 3 years, $15 million, whatever. He could have gone. We signed him because we've done nothing else. And it was required to sign somebody who can shoot a little bit because we've done nothing. Danny's going to leave. Looks like he's going to go back to the Lakers, and you can hate Danny all you want. Danny, again, as I said many times last year, has won us fucking games. Danny won us games. Who the fuck is going to be our starting shooting guard once Danny is gone? He was also a very good defender. I understand he got roasted alive in the first half against the Hawks. We all got roasted alive in the first half against the Hawks. Say whatever you want. He was one of our best perimeter defenders. He won us games with his shooting. Now he's gone. Who the fuck is going to be our starting shooting guard? We got worse. If you don't know, if you can't tell, we got worse. Unless they think what's-his-face who we drafted is about to take Danny Green's spot. But his three-point shot is inconsistent. I said that. It's not complete yet. He's not ready. Unless Matisse, I'm sure Matisse has been working on his three-point shot a ton more than Ben has been working on his three-point shot. But I have no clue if that's true or not. I hope so. I hope he comes in next year shooting a 40% three-point shot, the best three-point shooter from the corner. I pray to God that happens. I won't be surprised if it doesn't. We got worse. Yeah, we got worse. And I'm going to be honest with you. 1 second before we leave. Just going to say this. All respect to Daryl Morey. But soon, I'm going to go through his history on the Rockets, and I'm going to rethink how good of a GM Daryl Morey actually is. His favorite trade was the Kyle Lowry trade because he got assets for someone who had been quit on. But it really worked out for the Raptors, didn't it? Because of that trade, Kyle Lowry becomes part of the staple. Without Kyle Lowry, they don't win that championship because Kawhi's not a leader. He's already shown that. He's just learning kind of how to be a leader somewhat, but for a long time, that's not what he was. He's a hitman for hire, but you need someone who can convey his message to the rest of the team, and that's exactly what Kyle Lowry was. You saw Serge praise him. When Kyle Lowry went to the Heat, he tweeted or said something like, Bam is about to have his best year ever. So it was a good trade, but the Raptors won a championship before the Rockets won a championship. So take that with what you will. The Harden trade was a fantastic trade. I don't know how that's not his best trade because he traded Kevin Martin with the fucked up jumper. Kevin Martin, who I give anytime I see somebody score 50 points and have no rebounds and no assists, I call that the Kevin Martin special. The K Martin special. Kevin Martin, some draft picks. One of those draft picks turned into Reggie Jackson. I forgot what else. There's some other stuff in there. Nothing of real substance, though. And they got James Harden, paid him a ton of money, and look at James Harden, became one of the best shooting guards we've ever seen. So that was a great trade. But after that, nothing has really worked out. You know what I mean? They had the one shot with Chris Paul, but the idea that Chris Paul and James Harden could ever mix, this is part of the Daryl Morey thing. This analytics idea kind of foregoes that people's personalities may not match each other. You know what I mean? You can't really account for shitty personalities. There's no numbers that suggest the energy between two individuals isn't working. It's corroded. There's no number for that. So I'm not saying he's bad. I'm not saying he's a bad GM. I'm not going to call him into question yet. But I'm gonna start. I'll put it this way. I'm gonna start interviewing jurors. I'm gonna start interviewing juror members to get prepared for the case that this motherfucker is wilding. Because the idea that you're going to get trade Ben for an all-star and 4 future first-round picks, my man shot 30% from the free throw line in the playoffs. The best player on the team quit on him. Deservedly. There's questions there, bro. I'm just saying, there's questions. We did not get better so far. To be clear, we have not gotten better. If Danny leaves, we've gotten worse again. You know what I mean? We haven't gotten better. Other teams in the East have gotten better. The Knicks have gotten better. They're only a few games out of the 4th seed. Every team in the East has gotten, not every team, but all the teams that want to compete have gotten better. The Pacers got better because they got a better coach. It's going to be a harder situation. The Nets are going to have a full year together, a full training camp together. All those guys are going to be healthy. The Bucks just won a championship, and the type of person that Giannis is, he seems wired to not just sit on those laurels. He's coming for fucking blood. So, yeah, I'm a little bit worried. The Heat got better. I'm worried. Just going to say that. I'm worried. Daryl, wake the fuck up. You're not going to get that haul for him. Please make us better somehow. I don't know how. Please make him better. There was a rumor floating around that we had tried to trade Toby. That rumor was overrated. I had said this as soon as I saw it, that rumor was actually a holdover from when we were working with the Rockets, because the rumor was that we were shopping Toby to the Rockets. But if you really just think about that logically, there's nothing the Rockets could offer us, and why the fuck would they want Tobias Harris? As low as Ben's value is, and I've been saying this now for a few days, as low as Ben's value is, executives in the league I think really highly of Ben still. They just think that he needs work. Toby doesn't have any value because his contract is massive and his ceiling is very much, he's met the ceiling. He's hugging his ceiling. He falls asleep with his ceiling. He snuggles with his ceiling. Him and his ceiling are best friends. That ceiling is going nowhere on who he is as a player. So we'll see. That's it, everyone. I'll probably do another podcast next week, kind of follow up on whatever's going on. Unless there's a trade, I'll do an emergency one. But otherwise, everyone, wash your hands, stay safe. You know the drill. Black Lives Matter. Arrest the cops who killed Breonna Taylor. Stop Asian hate. Wear a fucking mask. Please get vaccinated. I would love to not have to go. We're going backwards right now, everyone. Just know that we're fucking going backwards. Let's go forward, if possible. This country doesn't go forward. We don't know how to do that. We're constantly in reverse. We're in reverse or in first gear. There's no second, third, fourth, fifth. There's none of it. Unless there's slavery involved. That's the only way. Fucking Christ. Which if does I don't even have to say it. Stop Asian hate, Black Lives Matter. Arrest the cops until Breonna Taylor. Take care.
Yeah. Justice for the blind, just something that'll find in the rhymes that are coming from my mind. Used to come